get started. I got that on. We are recording, as that thing says. And we're back again for the third part of week 13 reading class. Now we're going to be talking about GMOs. And this is in your compiled reading, which I have no idea where that's at. I should have a link somewhere. If you guys don't have it, you probably do. Let's see if we have a link here. This is what I like about these. I don't know if you guys look at them again. You should. Okay. Look back at old classes. Okay. It's called reviewing, recasting, or recalling. I mean, not recast. But just recalling what you talked about before, learning the words, reading things over, not so that you're learning it for the first time, but just so that you can test your knowledge, your vocabulary knowledge, and things like that. Here's this. I'm going to share this link. It's no access. That's not good. Okay. If you can jump on the Miro and read it here, then great. Let me just make sure I add this inside here as well. We're good. Okay. Let's learn about genetically modified foods. Genetically modified foods. What is that? What is that? And what do we usually call it? So the G, the M. What does GMO mean then? Genetic modified organism? I guess we're just going to say GM. Which is not to be confused with the brand General Mills, which makes a lot of food. I don't know. I never call it GMF, though. This is what we call an acronym. You know, when you have a bunch of letters that represent a word, like UN, the United Nations, or USA, United States of America. An acronym, which is, what is ACRA? So we know NIM means what? An abbreviated form from the initial letters of other words and pronounced as a word. ASCII, NASA. So we don't say NASA, right? Usually we just say this as a word, so NASA. But we don't say USA as USA. So is it an acronym? I don't know. Acron means the end, I guess, tip, plus nim, which onim, which means combining forms, means name. Words. Okay, well, genetically modified foods feed the world. Well, they already are. Huh? Not the entire world, large parts of it. If you want to start a heated discussion at a dinner party, bring up the topic of genetically modified foods. For many people, the idea of genetically altered high-tech crop production raises all kinds of environmental, health, and safety questions, particularly in countries with a long tradition of agriculture. The idea seems against nature. I don't know what this one is right now. In developing countries, however, to feed fast-growing and underfed populations, the problem is simpler and much more urgent. Do the benefits of biotech outnumber the risk? So they wrote their thesis statement kind of in a question format. Okay, so we're looking at if the benefits, outweigh the risk. And what kind of essay do you think this is? Okay. So, particularly in countries with a long tradition of agriculture, these countries with their agricultural revolutions that have been growing foods for a long time, the idea seems against nature. However, right? In developing countries, however, this is our little transition thing. To feed fast-growing and underfed populations, the problem is simpler and much more urgent. Is it simpler? I don't know. I don't think there is a simple problem in this world anymore. It's where we've gotten to. Where is this? Sorry. Do, 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 do. Hmm. All right, paragraph 2. The statistics on population growth and hunger are disturbing. Is this the topic sentence? I guess so. So I guess this essay is looking at, in developing countries. So the difference between the benefits and the risk, I guess. Yeah, benefits and the risk. So let's see if they talk about benefits first or risk first. I don't know yet. I haven't read this. Statistics on population growth and hunger. So this is what we're going to be talking about here. Population growth and hunger. So we're going to learn about the statistics. Just going straight in, they're jumping. Last year, the world's population reached 6 billion. When was this written? Oh my gosh. What is the population of the earth right now, guys? Let me close this. What is the population of the earth? At the moment, 2023. Well, in 2021, there was 8 billion almost. What is the current population of Earth? My goodness, 6 billion? No way. Earth. It says 7 point. No. It all stops at 2021. It says of January 1st, it's almost 8 billion. I'm going to say 8 billion. Yeah. And by 2050, the United Nations estimates it will be about 9 billion. Okay, so there, they talked about population growth right there, right? So, cool. You did it. Good job. Okay, so I'm going to say 8 billion. Because this is... Oh, I can see when it was 6 billion. So let's see when this was written. So this thing was... Sorry. Excuse me. This thing was written probably in 2000, so almost 20 years ago. Excuse me. It said 2050 will estimate to be 9 billion. I think it's going to be more. At the rate at which we're growing, what is the estimated population in 2050 of the Earth? It says 9.7 billion people. According to United Nations World Population Prospects in 2019, though, so it's probably going to be more. Probably going to hit 10 billion people. What do you think? Are we speeding up or slowing down? Are there going to be more disasters and things like that? Or are we just going to run out of food and just say, well, we can't have any more babies? You know, when you have a lot of resources, then you can have a lot of kids. If you don't, well, you still make them. But then it's whether or not they survive or not, right? Such a sad topic. At the same time, the world's available farming, so now we're talking about hunger, right? Available farming land is declining, yes, because of all these things, pollution, overuse, changing from foods that feed people to biofuels and things like that, using land for different purposes. In fact, available farming land has declined steadily since 1960 and will decrease by half over the next 50 years. According to ISAAA, International Service for the Acquisition of Agri-Biotech Applications. See, I don't like that. You need a concluding sentence here. Why don't we write a concluding sentence? Or at least explain this quote, right? In fact, available farmland declined steadily since 1916 and will decrease by half over the next 50 years. We need a concluding sentence, and we're going to write one. I'm going to write one with you. Okay? So this was about more general information. We're kind of giving some data about the crisis that's happening. The United Nations estimates that nearly 80 million people around the world are undernourished and the effects are deadly. So we're going to talk about here people being undernourished, people around the world are undernourished, and the effects of it. Okay? So, a concluding sentence that would also sum up this quote, this statistic. Okay? In fact, available farming land has declined steadily since 1960. Let's write a concluding sentence that actually would help us. Concluding sentence, because we always need one. You should never ever end with a quote. That's my opinion. It's an opinion still, but I'm the teacher. Do you agree? Yes, I'm the teacher. I hope you agree with that. Okay, so our concluding sentence will be something like, let's not write concluding sentence. Let's make it look like it fits in. According to ISA, the International so citation, right? They got this information from somewhere. I wish they had put a year in which they got it. It would make this better, but this was written like 40 years ago, so no, 20 years ago. So the next 50 years, that's how we also know when this was written, right? In the next 50 years, when they're talking about in 2050, let's get to it. I can't read it. Okay. So I'm going to say something like, the rising population of the world and the declining available, we call it arable land, anything that you can grow stuff, available farming land, will have a dramatic effect on people. Yeah, I mean that's basic. Basic as in not the best, but basic. Come on, go down. Okay. Right, so that kind of concludes what we were talking about. Also notes to something about talking about the effects, which is what they're talking about next. This is a concluding sentence, and it's doing its job. So here's our concluding sentence. What's wrong with adding a concluding sentence? Nothing. Does it make it better? Definitely. Do you always need it? Yeah. If you're trying to save space in a news article, okay, because newspapers, they have like whatever character count, not even word count. Each thing has to be 1,000 characters. That includes spaces, commas, everything. And the student that asked, why don't we put the comma at the end of the third thing on a list? Apples, oranges. Oh, what was my example? Let's prepare, cook, and eat, grandmother. If you don't have a comma there, it sounds like you're going to cook and eat your grandmother. We're using those commas to separate these ideas, right? And it can get confusing sometimes. I have an example somewhere. I feel like I'm never going to find it, so let's not do that. Okay, so let's see if it fits. The statistics on population growth and hunger are disturbing. Last year, the world's population reached 6 billion, or 8 billion people. And by 2050, the United Nations estimates it would probably be about 9 billion, 9.7 billion. At the same time, the world's available farmland is declining. In fact, available farmland has declined steadily since 1960 and will decrease by half over the next 50 years. Okay, so we have a population that will grow by this statistic by I 33%, is that right? Yeah. And then we have half go the land disappearing. But it's just land. It's not talking about the food. Increased by the next 50 years, according to the rising population of the world and the declining available farmland will have a dramatic effect on people in the coming future. Right. So not even by 2050. Before then, obviously, there's going to be some issues. That's a good concluding sentence. It kind of summarizes what we set up here, but that also leads us into the next part where they talk about the United Nations estimates that nearly 800 million people around the world are undernourished and the effects are deadly. I try not to use quotes in the topic sentence, but this is kind of more like a newsy article or credibility is important. Credibility means you're using the source, and the source is important, right? We don't say Mr. Bob estimates that nearly 8 million people around the world are undernourished, right? Who is that guy? What does he know about population, right? But the United Nations is something we trust, okay? If you look at their webpage, there's all this information. Some people trust it more than others. Some people, Putin, might not trust it at all, so don't be a Putin. Deadly effects. This also means their babies might be born with various defects or weaknesses. As many as 1 million children suffer from vitamin A deficiency, a major cause of blindness. Excuse me. Millions of people suffer from other major illnesses and nutritional deficiencies as a result of not having enough food. See, this is another. We need a concluding sentence, so let's write it. Can you guys help me? How can biotechnology help, right? So many people suffer from other major illnesses and nutritional deficiencies as a result of not having enough food. We're talking about the deadly effects of being hungry, of not being able to feed people, okay? So undernourished means not enough, underground, underwater, undernourished, okay, below something. We can add that as a prefix to words to change their meaning to be something about under or below, undervalued, things like that. Just like the word sub. We can't always do it. We don't say subnourished. It doesn't work in every word, okay? This is what I would call data, new information. Millions of people suffer from other major illnesses and nutritional deficiencies as a result of not having enough food. So let's conclude, okay? The world's hunger problem will need some solutions to avoid catastrophe. Screen's pretty long over there, yeah. Yeah. Talking about the world hunger problem. Don't end with just new facts, right? This is something new. You want to just kind of conclude with the old ideas and lead it maybe into the next thing. So that's what we're talking about next. Biotech can help, right? Let's see if we can. Nope. Let's see if I could do that. Yeah. Here is our concluding sentence. The world's hunger problem will need some solutions to avoid catastrophe. So I'm not summarizing, but I've mentioned these words again, these key words, things about hunger or about the world, right? Catastrophe is another word for disaster. You can look that up. It's a difficult word, but it's a word everybody should know. The climate catastrophe. That's a better word. It's not a euphemism like climate change. Climate change is so weak. Let's find that thing. That speech I heard. It's called the wicked problem. Why don't we just do it? Because I can. Okay, one of the issues they say in this is that we need to change the language of climate change. Okay, the old words were like the environment, And what does that mean? It's so nice. We should call it the living planet or the natural world. Climate change, something like climate breakdown, climate emergency, climate crisis, global warming, warming, global heating, okay? Saving the planet, defending the planet, climate skeptic. No, it's a denier. Fish stocks, fish populations, fossil fuels, dirty fuels, or high carbon fuels, right? Fossil. These are neutral words that we use to not offend people, you know? And some people are offended by these ideas. I don't know why. How can biotech help? Okay, in an effort to produce nutritionally improved. Okay, so this is weird as well. Once again, it's a question. That's why I don't like questions. Why don't you just say biotechnology can help? Why? Why do you have to make it a question? Well, so, it can be interesting, right? So we're going to be talking about the benefits of biotechnology right here. Not about the negatives, just the positives, right? In an effort to produce nutritionally improved crops, biotechnologists have developed genetically modified rice that is strengthened with beta carotene and additional minerals. Biotech can also improve farming productivity in places where food shortages are caused by crop damage due to pests, harmful insects, crop viruses. Whenever you see this, they have like a parentheses. Sometimes it's like another definition. It's a definition within this. So now what is the meaning of pest? Harmful insects. Not just insects, though. It could be fungus. It could be other things. This is stupid. Harmful creatures. Okay? Or harmful animals, creatures. Let's call them creatures. Organisms. That's the word. That's the scientific word. Right? Harmful organisms. They're not just insects. Jesus. I get so angry. Just kidding. I'm a hot-blooded human being. Crop viruses. Those are viruses. I mean, those are disease, right? Drought. Lack of rain. See? Once again, they tell you the information. What does drought mean? And it's weird. I know it's not fought. It's not drought. It's not like bot. It's spelled O-U-G-H-T. I know. This is the weird thing about English. Many weird things, but it's not too bad. Or bad quality soil. Okay, sorry. Let's read that again. Biotech can also improve farming productivity in places where food shortages are caused by crop damage due to pests, crop viruses, drought, or bad quality soil. Okay, damage caused by pests is incredible. Incredible has like a positive meaning. Okay, I would never say incredible. Like an incredible problem would be something kind of super. Would you say damage caused by pests is super? I mean, no, it hasn't. Caused by pest is alarming. These words that kind of mean emergencies. Those are the words you want to use. Bad essay. Let's look up words that are negative. Frightening, startling, see? Unnerving, shocking. Shocking is like a good word. Not incredible. Yeah, man, I'm changing that. Shocking. It's incredible. Frightening, even. I mean, startling. These are words that talk about fear, right? Incredible kind of talks about like wonderful things. This is why connotation, this is why knowing the word, not just its meaning, but like where it's used and what situations you use those words. It's really important. And you really only learn it from reading. You get these good examples of those things. Adding pest-resistant genes into seeds can help restore the balance. In Africa, for example, so now they're just ending with an example. Terrible. In Africa, for example, crop production has increased significantly by using pest-resistant cotton. Okay, so these seeds, that they use are designed to resist certain things. In the past with Mendel, he did the experiments with the beans, the tall one, the long one, the short one, whatever. And that took like generations. But beans, they don't take that long to grow. With this, you just kind of figure out which gene does what, and then you test it, and if it works, great. You keep testing it, you keep changing some gene, you splice it, you use some CRISPRs and all that new technology they use to change the DNA of something. This is what scares people, like mRNA vaccines. It's like the moment you talk about changing a gene, then you start thinking about monsters and aliens and I don't know, some sci-fi thing, right? We all have these genes in us, and the viruses actually change our genes as well. They're able to you know, a virus. What does it do? It gets into your cell and reprograms your cell to make the disease. Your body becomes the disease factory. Sorry, I'm just talking about COVID and everything, but the virus basically makes the bacteria in your lungs. Usually, virus attacks bacteria and causes that bacteria or the cell in your body to do something different. Okay, the virus is a coding machine. That's why we use this term when we talk about computer viruses. It goes in there and it changes the code a little bit. So a virus can do that, and is that natural? I mean, it's part of the world. Viruses existed. I mean, we were probably all life started with the virus that just reprogrammed some cell to start walking. You know, like a plant that never walked before. I don't know. I'm not. This is just sci-fi now. Okay, so adding pest-resistant genes into a seed can help restore the balance. In Africa, for example, crop production is increased significantly by using pest-resistant cotton. Okay, so what is this paragraph talking about? Well, it's talking about the benefits. Okay, so the benefits of, I don't know, genetically modified. I think here they're more talking about seeds, like rice is a seed, right? Genetically modified seeds can help overcome hunger in the world. So yeah, we just want to wrap it up a little bit, just don't try to end with something about Africa. Then I just think you're talking about Africa. No, you talked about more things like rice and damage and all of these other things, right? And they talked about crop viruses, and now they're going to be talking about crop viruses here. This is their topic sentence. Viruses often cause great damage to basic crops in developing countries. What are we going to be talking about? The United States? No. Okay. Developing countries. Those countries that haven't reached a certain level of development and a development in their infrastructure and their institutions. Institutions count. Okay. Courts and laws and banking and things like that. 2 years ago, Africa lost more to hunger in the world. Let's just say, let's transition into the next. How will we do that? We can mention such as in Africa, right? There. And now, wow, we have a connection, and we're connecting it into this, okay? And maybe this essay was meant for you to write concluding sentences because they just forgot to write any concluding sentences. Viruses often cause great damages to basic crops in developing countries. 2 years ago, Africa lost more than half its cassava crop, a key source of calories. It's kind of like a potato. It's something they use, they mash it, and they make it into kind of like mashed potato kind of a thing. It's the staple food. It's like some countries have rice, others have wheat and bread. Bulgur, they have cassava there because of the mosaic virus. That's the name of the virus. Cool. Blah, 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 5. Similarly, in regions with very little rainfall, drought-tolerant seeds can reduce crop damage. I guess it's not only talking about Africa. Yeah. Talking about developing. Let's say especially, sorry, yeah, in developing countries, because this next paragraph is focused on developing countries, right? It's nice to brainstorm. Let's brainstorm with one brain. Similarly, in regions with very little rainfall, drought-tolerant seeds can reduce crop damage, right? So some that don't need as much water as other crops, or they just don't die as quickly. Biotech can help solve the problem of too much aluminum in soil, which can damage roots and cause crop failures. A gene that helps neutralize aluminum toxicity. So toxic is an adjective that describes something that is not good for you, that destroys, that harms, like some kind of chemical. Toxicity, now we're making it into a noun. Look at that. In rice has been identified recently. Okay, gene. So they found something in the DNA, right? We're talking about genes, gene therapy, gene alteration. These are all words that collocate, that go with the word gene, right? What other words do you know? Not your clothes that you wear. A gene that helps neutralize aluminum toxicity in rice has been identified recently. Many scientists believe biotech could raise overall crop productivity in developing countries, such as much as 25%, and help prevent the loss of those crops after they are harvested. So many scientists, right? We need like a citation here, even, right? So that's my thing, That's why I always ask you guys, we need a citation here. What's the name and the year of this article? Because otherwise, where did you get this information? Where did they get this information? I want to look this up because I want to prove that it's wrong. I've been following a doctor guy on Instagram who he basically says, he watches somebody saying, don't eat spinach. It has a lot of oxalates, which are bad for you. This is, it's like a nutrition guy who wants you to eat meat all the time. And oxalates cause this and this and this damage, Well, the doctor says, BS. This is the article that he's talking about. He found the article. He says, well, spinach does contain it, but we don't absorb it into our body by eating it. We create our own oxalates, the things that cause this damage. And those things are created by eating lots of meat and like a high sugar diet. So we produce that chemical in our body that destroys our body. We don't eat it from plants that have it, like spinach. That's what he said, right? So just because something has it doesn't mean you're going to get it from it, okay? And that's this thing that's happening. We should be watching TikTok videos and Instagram videos that are debunking. Debunk means to like prove that a conspiracy theory is wrong, or prove that a myth that we have, something that's commonly believed but it's not true, is wrong. Okay, there's a lot of common ones. Anyways, so the citation should go there. We're going to have a concluding sentence. It doesn't talk about these 25%. Many scientists believe biotech could raise overall crop productivity in developing countries as much as 25%. Well, this is actually kind of good, except that they just added more information. Okay. If I just said many scientists believe biotech could raise overall crop productivity in developing countries, that would be a good concluding sentence, But the fact that he added more information to help prevent the loss of these crops after they are harvested, this could be almost. Okay. And are they only talking about viruses? No. This is a See, that's a bad body topic sentence. Viruses and other disasters or other weather-related things, right? So this one's talking about aluminum destroying things. There are many harmful elements. Not elements. That sounds like medicine or chemistry. There are many harmful crops Crops. Crops is another word for the things that you grow. Could be wheat, could be rice, whatever it is that you're growing as a farmer and you'll sell or eat are crops. Okay. Crops. Crop, I don't know, crop yields, like how much you grow. Crop production. Let's say crop production. They said crop productivity. Production. In spite of, wait, let's go to the next one. In spite of that promise, see, it's always more difficult to rewrite an essay to add things when you don't do it right the first time. In spite of that promise, biotech is far from being the whole answer. Okay, so now they're going to get into the negative, right? They went from the positives, now they're talking about the negatives. This could be like a pro-con essay, or it could be some kind of like opinion essay, right? The benefits could help. The benefits. What benefits? The benefits of genetic. So be specific. Just like me. Modified foods could help improve why don't we do the negative thing? Despite. So we can do this like this. Despite the benefits of genetically modified foods, modified, I don't know, seeds for agriculture, there are some negatives, right? There are some, what would we call it? Some negative effects. I don't know. My brain doesn't always work well, right? So here's a way we just mention all these things, the benefits of genetically modified seeds. But now we're going to talk about the opposite, okay? Despite there are some negative effects. And what are we going to be talking about in the next paragraph? It's far from being the whole answer. In spite of that promise, biotech is far from being the whole answer, right? I can see this one can be okay because I think this part is a conclusion. Okay, but we don't need that in as much as 25% part. That's fine. I would accept it. In spite of that promise, biotech is far from being the whole answer. Poverty plays the largest role. Oh. No, they're not talking about that. There are some other reasons for hunger. Well, duh. Poverty plays the largest role. Today, more than 1 billion. See, this is not a good a topic sentence. It's far from the whole answer. Maybe it'll mention a bunch of things. Let's see. Poverty plays the largest role. Today, more than 1 billion people around the globe live on less than $1 a day. That's crazy. Making genetically modified crops available will not reduce hunger if farmers cannot afford to grow them or if the local population cannot afford to buy them because they are expensive. Another difficulty is the problem of food distribution. Okay, so there's two problems. This is problem number one. And yes, food distribution, getting the food where it needs to go without it, like the food spoiling or going bad, right? When the food gets bad, it spoils. When you have a bunch of spoiled vegetables in your thing or your milk spoils, it'll start to smell bad and get kind of chunky and is sour. And you'll drink it and you'll think you're okay, but you're not. Especially in countries with undeveloped means of transport, right? Not a lot of roads or trains and, not having the infrastructure for transportation. Geography restricts food availability, and many biotech products won't even reach the region where they are most needed. To overcome this problem, there's a need for better collaboration between governments and private biotech firms. This problem. Okay, these problems, probably the better one, poverty distribution. And this this transition, this concluding sentence, actually, there's a concluding sentence. We're going to call it CS. Okay. For better collaboration between government and private biotech firms. This is leading us into the next paragraph, right? It's no, it's just offering a solution. See, this is stupid. In brief, biotech is not a miracle, but it promises to transform agriculture in many developing countries. If that promise is not fulfilled, the real losers will be their people who could suffer for years. That's a really short conclusion. I would mention what these miracles are. Biotech is not a miracle, but in many developing countries, it can, strengthen. It could fortify different foods like rice by adding, nutrients. It can help farmers, withstand droughts and pesticides. What else can it do? Yeah, I would mention some of those things. However, despite these promises, there are still issues, including poverty and problems with food distributions. Okay, and the real losers at the end, I wouldn't call them losers. That's like a strong word, right? The people who will suffer. Jeez, that's like a sad word. We don't call people losers. We're a bunch of snowflakes now, aren't we? The people who will suffer the most, right? We're talking about pain. But we use the word suffer next. Who could suffer for years? If that promise is not fulfilled, the people who will, I don't know, what's another, will be harmed the most. The real losers will be their people. The people who will be harmed the most. Their people. I don't know, something about will lose the most, right? That's not necessary. Don't call people losers. They're people who will be harmed the most. I would change that whole sentence to could suffer for decades, for years. I don't know. Years is too short. Decades. Put the sentences. Oh, they took these sentences out. Put the sentences in the correct place left in the text. Okay, so we have 7 of these. We're supposed to put them where they belong. None of them are concluding sentences. That's too bad. But maybe this will flesh it out a little bit more. Taken as a whole, the world produces enough food to feed everyone, but much of it is simply in the wrong place. Remember what we talked about? Place, wrong. We can produce enough food. This is very true. Also, we have enough water for the entire world. The problem is the distribution of it is so expensive. Moving it by trucks is expensive, right? You're wasting fuel anyways. And then building pipes, well, the maintenance of pipes when they break, well. Okay, so this, I would say, goes here. Another difficulty is the problem of food distribution. And they're going to explain it. Taken as a whole, the world produces enough food to feed everyone, but much of it is simply in the wrong place, in the hands of rich people, especially in countries with underdeveloped means of transport. Yeah, right? Okay, B, genetically modified. Virus resistance crops can reduce that damage. Okay, so we're talking about virus resistance. Okay, so where do we read about viruses? Viruses often cause great damage to basic crops in developing countries. 2 years ago, Africa lost more than half its cassava crops, a key source of calories, because of the mosaic virus. What did I say? Genetically modified virus-resistant crops can reduce that damage. I think that's right. Similarly, right? So we're talking about if we had that kind of crop that's resistant against viruses, then boom, we can get rid of that. C, in developing countries, crop loss is only one cause of hunger. Oh, okay. In spite of that promise, biotech is far from being the whole answer. We're talking about hunger here, right? So this was talking about these viruses. Okay. And then we're talking about, yeah, okay, that makes sense. So here, it would be in developing countries, crop loss is only one cause of hunger. Another one, poverty plays the largest role. People can't buy food, or farmers don't have the money to grow it, or all of these seeds, genetically modified seeds, cost more, and you have to buy them from the company. It's kind of a big bad idea. It's a business idea. People used to have these seeds. They just had it from generations to generations. The next farmer would get it. The next farmer would get it, and then with genetically modified seeds, every year they have to buy the seeds from the company, okay? And they don't own those seeds. The company owns the seeds. This is the biggest issue. The European corn borer, for example, destroys 4 million tons of world's corn crops annually. We're talking about some kind of pest, right? A European corn borer, which also known as is a kind of insect of European origin. We're talking about pests. So where did we read about pest? Let's go back and find out. Pest. Okay, here's that word, right? This is kind of like scanning. We're looking for words. We're looking for things that are talking about pests, insects. Damage caused by pests is incredible. Okay, shocking. And I guess now we have an example of it here, which is D. The European corn borer, for example, destroys. Notice how they use the commas there, right? We could put this in the front, right? For example, the European corn borer destroys 40 million tons of world's corn crops annually. They put it in the middle because why? They want you to know the name. This is more important right now. We want to focus on the name. The European corn borer, for example, destroys 40 million tons of the world's corn crops annually. If I said, for example, the European corn borer destroys 40 million, it just doesn't feel as strong sometimes. So sometimes you want to put those with those 2 commas, put some extra information in there. I'm going to label this one as D. That's a D, I guess. E, almost all the growth will occur in developing countries. What are we talking about growth before? Do you remember? We're talking about the growth of farmlands? No, that's going down. So we're talking about population. This is probably in the front, right, if you remember this well. Okay, particularly in countries with a long tradition, idea seems against nature. No, this is talking about genetically altered. Here we're talking about population. By 2050, the United Nations estimates it would probably be about 9 billion, okay? And that's where we're going to add this information. Almost all that growth will occur in developing countries. Why? Well, when countries start developing, their birth rates start declining. So places like Japan, where the population is actually shrinking due to nobody getting married and people, it's too expensive to have children. Also, all the effects of gender and gender role and why certain people don't want to ever get married and have babies. Well, that's another reason. F, we're almost done, guys. F, about 400 million young women are iron deficient, which means they don't have enough iron in their bodies, okay? Another word for it is anemic, okay? If you're anemic, then you lack iron. Often happens to women for various reasons. Some of it is diet, some of it is female related stuff. Don't get me blushing. I'm getting embarrassed now. All right. We're talking about nutrients, right? Remember we read about that? About different vitamins? Oh, here we go. The United Nations estimates. An estimate is a noun, okay, that talks about the number, the estimate for this fixing the house is 4,000 Turkish lira, right? If we use it as a verb, which it is here, right? We have our subject, we have our verb. It's going to be estimates, eights, not ets. Estimates, noun, estimates, verb. Estimate. estimates that nearly 800 million people around the world are undernourished, okay, don't have enough food, and the effects are deadly. Okay, now we talk about. I already wrote E. Yeah, I did. Oh, I put that in the wrong place. I'm sorry. Jeez, Bob. You guys knew that. You corrected me already. I know, I know. Good job, guys. Love it. Teamwork makes the dreams work. Okay, this is F. Okay. The effects are deadly. For example, about 400 million young women are iron deficient, which means they don't have enough iron in their bodies. Give them spinach. Okay. And the last one, in rich countries, there is a wide range of foods to choose from and a supply that that easily meets the needs of the population. Okay, well, you have one choice left. In rich countries, there's a wide range of foods to choose from, and the supply can easily meet the needs of the population. What's the last one? It's the very first one. For many people, the idea of genetically altered high-tech crop production raises all kinds of environmental, health, and safety questions. Particularly in countries with a long tradition of agriculture, the idea seems against nature. Gee, against nature, why? In rich countries, there's a wide range of foods to choose from and a supply that easily meets the needs of the population. That easily reaches the population because of their infrastructure, the roads, food distribution, like we just talked about, right? Can they complain? No. Particularly in countries with a long tradition of agriculture, idea seems against nature. So, it's this developing middle class, sorry, not developing, this growing middle class of people who demand and seek things that before it was about survival, just eating enough calories, right? Then you get kind of comfortable, and then you start to understand health problems and exercise and things like that. You're not struggling with just getting calories in your body, just getting as much bread as you can to survive, right? At a certain point, when we're comfortable, when we're safe, when we don't feel like we have to struggle to survive, well, we can start choosing better foods. And this is what's happening or happened in developed countries where people don't struggle with those things. We're not just giving people a bucket of potatoes every day and say, hey, there's your food rations for today. When you think about things like war, or immigration or refugee stuff, well, certain people just survive by eating not so good food that is just has calories that probably isn't good enough for you to like help you learn, to grow, to be a nice person. If you're struggling, if you're living in poverty, if you're hungry, you're not going to be a nice person. And I'm not a nice person when I'm hungry. I am hangry, all right? In developing countries, however, right? So they talk about how much food the developed countries have. Well, however, this is a problem, right? Much simpler and more urgent. Why is the word simple? The problem is simpler. I wouldn't. Yeah, the power is. The problem is getting people food. Okay. Find words in the text that mean the following. Oh, this is always hard. Write only one word in each line and do not change the form of the verb. Okay. Be greater than verb. Let's look for it. Something to talk about. Be greater than. It's a verb. If you want to start a heated discussion at a dinner party, bring up the topic of genetically modified food. For many people, the idea of genetically altered high-tech crop production raises. Is that it? No. All kinds of, particularly in countries with a long tradition of agriculture, idea seems against nature in developing countries. However, to feed fast-growing, see, that's an adjective, an underfed population, probably simpler and much more urgent. Do the benefits of biotechnology outnumber the risk? Yes, that's it. Okay, we're looking for a verb to outnumber somebody. Your troops can, in a war, can outnumber the other. You can outnumber things. It's a verb. Insufficiency, noun. We're looking in paragraph 4. To not have enough, right? This one is not, negative. Sufficient means having enough. So this is not having enough. Insufficiency, but we're looking for a noun, okay? This is also a noun. Great. Paragraph 4. Let's go. What the heck is, paragraph 4. Insufficiency. Let's go. How can biotech help in an effort to produce nutritionally improved crops? Biotechnologists have developed genetically modified rice that is strengthened with looking for it now. Can improve farming productivity in places where food shortages, not having enough, are caused by crop damage. Shortages. It's incredible. Can help restore, increase significantly. Significantly. I'm going to say the word is shortages. If we are short of something, then we have a shortage. Okay, that's the noun. Good. Okay, we're looking for a verb in paragraph 6 that means limits, to make it less, or to not let something go over a certain amount, to limit something. In spite of that promise, biotech is far from being the whole answer. Poverty plays the largest role today. More than 1 billion around live on less than $1 a day. Making genetically modified crops available will not reduce limit, maybe, will not reduce hunger if farmers cannot afford to grow them, or if the local population can afford to buy them because they are expensive. Another difficulty is the problem of food distribution. Undeveloped means restricts, limits. Geography restricts food availability, won't reach the places where they are. Why would I say reduce? No. See, that means to go down. Limit means to not let something go any higher, right? I will limit your talking to only 1 minute of class. That's it. I got it. Limits. Verbs, right? They put the S here to note that it is a third person speaking. He limits. It restricts. A verb. And the last one in paragraph 6, the word cooperation, like a noun. It is a noun, but it's a cooperation. The word like cooperation. In spite of that promise, far from being, plays the largest role. We're looking for a noun. Today, more than 1 billion people around the world live on less genetically modified, available, reduce if cannot afford to grow them, if the local population can buy them because they are expensive. Another difficulty is the problem of food distribution, especially with underdeveloped means of transport. Availability of many bioproducts won't even reach the region where they are most needed. To overcome this problem, there is need for better collaboration. These words mean the same thing. Cooperation, collaboration. It means the same thing. Collaborate with your partner. Cooperate. Collaborate means more like to help each other, though. Yeah. Okay. Cooperation means to like work together to get along. Collaboration. I like it. We found a noun. Collaboration. And that's it. It is 1:30. We had 3 classes, roughly about an hour each. Okay. Went through this reading. And I was going to send you some links. I don't know. I'm just going to send you guys a link. These are always good. Something just to watch when talking about genetically modified foods. I think this guy's usually pretty pro-technology. So Krocherberg or whatever his name is. So yeah, if you guys want to watch that, go for it. It's are GMOs good or bad? Okay, so we're doing like a pro-con or an opinion thing. See what he says. Go through it. Use your language reactor. Look at the things. Slow down. Find some new words. Send me some cool new words that you found. Okay, and yeah, I'm not going to give an assignment this week. I don't think we should have one every week. You should be working on your task B, which is talking about your favorite character and why, doing an association, which is a drawing, a song, or actors, and why you think that those things represent that story. And then finally, change the ending or an element, some part of the story that you want changed. It could be the characters themselves. It could be the story. It could be the ending. It could be more than one thing. Great. Okay. And then finally, Have a great week. I'll see you on Thursday. Let's start on Thursday at 10. I'm still recovering from my trip. And if you guys have any questions about anything, you know where to ask them. You can send me questions directly. And somebody mentioned that the Turnitin's not working. I changed it so you can submit anything, I guess, not just a file. So if you were trying to send the link, okay. But I think it was that you had to upload a file. I'm not sure. If you have an issue with that, let me know. Just write a comment in the box about the box. Just put a comment in the assignments thing. And that's it. All right. Thanks. Have a great day. See you guys on Thursday. And thanks for coming to class, and thanks for watching. Okay, I'll see you guys later. Bye.